webinar form. Chrissie Paraschos from CBON is on board with me now as well, because she's guiding me through the use of this program. And let me tell you, it's a lot to learn, but it's been lots of fun too. And I'm happy to welcome all of you here. Chrissie will be taking questions if you have them, and she'll be answering them for you in the chat. So hi, Chrissie, thanks for joining us today. And we're the infection control women from CBON. We're the ones who, really care about infection control and making sure you're safe. So let's get started. How many are here, Chrissie?
So we have 19. So it keeps going. People keep coming in. So
alrighty.
Yeah.
So let me first say that as a beauty professional, I found the most difficult thing in starting my business knowing exactly what records I should be keeping, because that was never covered for me. It was never talked about in school when I went back to school, and my accountant didn't really know other than financial records, and I didn't often see a public health inspector, and when I did, they really weren't sure what records we should keep either. So I had to go to my government guidelines and try to determine through all that muddle what exactly it was I needed to keep. Hence, the importance of keeping records and forms has always been a really important topic of information for me. So I hope that this helps you. Please know that you may have to still weed through all the information from your government guidelines to ensure you're keeping all the ones you should be keeping. But I'm going to do my best to help you with what we know you should be keeping. And if you have any ideas for any future webinars about information you'd like to talk about, either in this presentation or in other ideas, please just let me know. So here we go. The importance of keeping records and forms in personal service establishments. In Canada, health regulations are the jurisdiction of each province where ministries of health enact guidelines, undertake inspections, and provide education to help beauty industry establishments eliminate or mitigate the effects of communicable diseases. Public health inspectors inspect personal service establishments to ensure that cleaning, sanitation, and infection prevention and control practices are followed. I don't know about the location that you're in, but I know that the public health inspectors are usually hired in May when they finish university, and they leave in September when they have to return. Once again, follow your local government guidelines. Record keeping ensures compliance with regulations and confirms that infection prevention and control practices are appropriate and that the worker and the client will be protected. Record keeping is a daily task. We can't leave it. Records should be kept on-site or off-site as required by public health for their suggested recommended amount of time. Some records have to be kept on-site for 1 year and then off-site for 3 years. Sometimes they have to be kept on-site for 4 years, and sometimes you have to keep them for 30 years if there's a bloodborne pathogen exposure. So it's really important to find that out. At any time, a public health inspector can ask the business to present their records. And there are consequences if the records are not produced in a timely manner. Some of those consequences are fines, suspensions, and closures. Sometimes it's detrimental because of public awareness that there's been a fine to your business. So we want to make sure that we're covered and we keep everything up to date. I'm not sure if every province has this, but in British Columbia, we have exposure control assessments, and they're performed to evaluate the risk of contamination or cross-contamination associated with each service. They demonstrate risks to the worker or client, potential for contact with blood, bodily fluids, and non-intact skin, and potential exposure to mucous membranes or contaminated equipment and services. These have to be performed for every service, and if you add a service to your menu, it has to be performed before you do that. Using exposure control assessments shows public health that you're knowledgeable about infection control, and it prepares you to confidently answer any questions or concern a public health inspector may have about your service. It also gives you a deep understanding of the service, and it's a great reference tool for your staff because they know exactly what is expected and what is required. It determines what PPE everyone should be using for that service, and it prepares you in case there is an exposure. So this is what one page of this looks like. I think I have 2 pages on here. But if you can see, it has at the top sterilization procedures. So this is where you would list anything where you had a critical tool, implement, or disposable single-use item, and you would write down the process of using it. So for example, this is microblading. They have lancets and blades. There's no cleaning procedure because they're going to be discarded into a certified sharps container. So there's no sterilization procedure and there's no sanitary storage. This is a great tool because then down below, it tells you semi-critical items and it goes on, and it'll ask all the pertinent information that you need. And it also gives you the ability to enter notes to yourself about what PPE is needed, etc. We are happy to go through this with you at another time if you want, but this is a huge document. So exposure control assessments in BC must be kept on file. As you can see here, this is what you would do in a microblading procedure for single-use sterile individually packaged items used only on one client. So it just walks you through. It's really difficult to perform this, but once you've done one, it's easy to do the rest. And hairdressers are required to do this as well, because just because you think that you're not at risk, lots and lots of people get nicked with shears. Lots of people. Sorry about that. When using cleaning and disinfection or liquid sterilization products, the manufacturer's directions for use must always be followed. Be knowledgeable about the products you use by reading the label and taking notes. What is the name of the product and who is the manufacturer? Is it Health Canada registered? Is it a hospital grade disinfectant? What are the claims? What germs is it saying that it's going to eradicate, and what are the contact times for those claims? Are there dilution instructions and testing requirements? For example, HLD5 doesn't have to be diluted, but it should be tested. And preamp concentrate can be diluted and it must be tested. What are the contact times for cleaning? Because some products clean and disinfect, but you still need a contact time for cleaning. And what are the contact times for each level of disinfection? So if you have a disinfectant that is an intermediate disinfectant, it's also a low-level disinfectant. So you should know both of those times. Read this label before you purchase a product. It's really, really important. And by knowing all this information, public health, when they ask you questions, you will be able to stand by the product that you're using, and they'll be better at backing off you a little bit, knowing that you know your stuff that they don't have. They'll be more confident in your ability to use proper cleaning and disinfectants. So where is the DIN or the NPN number located? Public Health is going to ask you that. Where's the DIN number? Everyone knows that a DIN number is a drug identification number. CS20 has an MDL number. That's a medical device number. And a lot of products have, cleaning products especially, have NPN numbers. You're not supposed to use a product in a public establishment that does not have DINs. They have to stand by what they are. So you shouldn't be using household cleaners and disinfectants in your establishment, because the Public Health Authority will not like that at all. When does the product expire? This is really, really important to know. Let me just grab this. We have these cute little covers for wipes that we're just introducing. So you're the first one. Sorry, I see I lost internet connection, so I'll repeat. We have these cute little covers for preamp wipes that we're starting to bring out, but we had to make them available to people so we could tear them off without ruining it to show the expiry date on the back. Okay, your public health inspector is always going to ask you for expiry dates, and you should know where those are. Are there compatibility issues with the products that you're using? For example, some products turn nail bits black if they're made of brass. That's normal. Does that affect the quality of the nail bit? No. Well, not necessarily, depending on the product that you're using. So you should find out about compatibility issues. Are there warning statements on the label? You should know about these. Are they, do they have VOCs? Do you have to wear a mask when using them? It's important to know this stuff. I'm sorry. Are there efficacy testing requirements? In other words, if you're using a solution and it doesn't have to be diluted, usually that solution is fine to use unless there's organic debris in the solution. If the solution becomes dirty and there's organic debris, you have to test it. Does this product say, yes, you have to test it if there's organic debris in it? It should. Are there PPE requirements when using these products? You really have to know that. And what are the disposal requirements? Do you have to be very careful how you dispose of it? Can you put it down the drain? Do you have to recycle it? All those things are really important to know. Read and keep the following documents on file for each of the products you use. So make sure if you're using disinfectants and sterilants, liquid sterilants, that you have the following. But also when you're using cleaning products, it's important to know if they have protocols, because most people don't read the back of the label on a Lysol jar, but you should, because you would be surprised at the information you will learn from that. So always keep protocols, reference sheets, and safety data sheets. So here, for example, is a protocol sheet for CS20 from Virox. You can see exactly it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got reference on it because it tells you what your best practices are for using this product, and when you should use this product is down here. So right here, sorry, use with. So yes, you should read your label, but this is something that you should keep on file at all times so that you and your staff always follow the correct protocols of use. And here is your reference sheet. So this is going to tell you what this product does. It has more than one page to it, and it'll also give you some ideas on how to use it properly. Here is your safety data sheet. And it really doesn't matter what product you have in your business. If you're using it on someone, it should have a safety data sheet. So even cosmetics, cleaners, toners, acids, all of those, you should have safety data sheets on file for all your products. So whenever you bring a product in, you should make sure that that safety data sheet is on file. At any time, a public health inspector can ask you to test a solution, or they can ask for a test strip to test the solution themselves. Be sure to create, use, and keep disinfection logs, sterilization logs, use and reuse logs, and efficacy testing logs. And we have these for you. We have these for you for Preempt. So this is one of the ones that we created for Preempt. It says up here that this is the first day you started it. What day 7 it should be tested. Is there debris in it? So I'm going to test it. Is it a pass or a fail? And these should be kept right by your disinfectants and filled out and initialed by whoever is looking after refilling the immersion trays. Use decontamination schedules and restocking logs. Restocking logs are important to prove accountability to the public health inspector. These are especially important for high-touch areas such as workstations, classrooms, restrooms, break rooms, and hand washing stations. And I bring up hand washing stations because it's critically important that the hand washing stations be kept decontaminated and stocked in timely manners throughout the day. One thing I have heard from quite a few people, clients, professionals is that one of the first things that a client will report you on is not having your hand washing station clean and restocked. So please pay attention to that. Make sure that you have schedules and restocking logs. Keep them on file. Make sure they're in the areas where they need to be. Quite often you'll walk into Walmart and you'll see that there's a form on the wall that says who cleaned it when and what was the time. We need to keep those too. So here's just a general cleaning log. You can change it to whatever your area you want. It's just period from here to here, and you can change any of the things that you want on here. It's just very, very simple form. Keep them in one binder and just keep putting them one on top of the other as you go through them. Reusable devices, tools, and equipment should be of good quality and be used as per manufacturer's instructions. If you're a foot care nurse in this industry, you better make sure you have all of this intact. This goes back to reading the label, reading the manufacturer's instructions, and knowing what they require. Tools should say that they require meticulous cleaning, rinsing, and drying prior to reprocessing, whether you're disinfecting or whether you're sterilizing. And you need to ensure that the chemicals in those products are not going to react to the material that your devices are made of. And you can't immerse electrical devices like we can a pair of nail nippers. So we need to know all of that. Attain and keep the following documents for each device, tool, or piece of equipment. Keep your bill of sale. Make sure that it has a CSA approval. Keep the warranty. Keep the manual and the instruction sheet. I've had inspectors ask for all of these things. List of parts and accessories. This is really important because it's going to tell you how to dismantle the product, the item if it needs to be dismantled. And your manufacturer sheet is going to tell you if you need to remove hinges, how you're going to disinfect it, if you have to drop it in a solution, or if you have to put it in an autoclave. Do you have to open it? Do you have to remove a hinge? What do you have to do? Once again, make notes of the compatibility, because a lot of disinfectants are not compatible with inexpensively made tools and implements. Also, you should have decontamination instructions. Keep the following records for reusable devices, tools, and equipment. So you're going to need maintenance logs. Even if you have ventilation, a public health inspector can ask you to see the maintenance logs on the ventilation. I've had that happen to me. Even if it's just air conditioning, I've had that happen. And if you have an autoclave, there's a lot of testing logs that you need to do on a daily, biweekly, and monthly basis. So make sure you have logs for your physical, chemical, and biological testing. Another log we should be keeping is for training for all staff. So if you are, for example, training your staff on microblading, make sure that you keep records of that and that you keep copies of their certification on file. Because if you happen to do exposure sheets, which we talked about at first, the best thing you can also do is when you have a service, put the certification of the person who will be doing the service behind it to show that they have been trained. It really saves a lot of headache. So here's an example. There's a letter I have from MBI in Canada. This is where we get a lot of our tools. They're great. It's on their website. And a handbook and instruction sheet. They're really, really important. Make sure that you keep them all together. And here is your record sheet. I suggest that you have a binder that has dividers for each of your logs, whatever it is you're testing. And once they're filled, you put them in there and you store them in there and you do your best to keep them up to date. If the health department in your area says you only need to keep them on file for a year, make sure that you constantly switch them out. Single-use prepackaged sterile items. So this is disposable items and tools, because I know a lot of the foot care nurses are buying single-use prepackaged sterile foot care tools and they're just disposing of them. Requirements for single-use prepackaged sterile items and tools are proof of item sterility from the manufacturer, records of sterilization certificates from each manufacturer on file, record of all information required for tracking purposes, such as manufacturer name, lot, item number, and expiry date. So what I do for personally, what I have done for this is if I'm bringing in a brand or I have a brand, I get in touch with the manufacturer and I make sure that I have a copy of their certificate. Then when I bring in the product, I make sure that it's constantly rotated. So I'm using, because they do have an expiry date, so I'm using the oldest ones first. When I was taught to do this by a microblading company in Toronto, and it's a great idea. Don't open any of these until you use them on the client. So when you're ready to use them, have the client initial the package that you opened it in front of them and staple the package to your client consent form. And that way you have easy way of doing contact and information and making sure that if anything happens, you have the actual documentation. You can see that there's an expiry on it, that it's been CEE approved, and all those things are really, really important. Keep these with your client forms. Also, you should keep client contact forms, client consultation forms, client consent forms. Does everybody keep those? Even when you do a walk-in, you still have to have a client contact form. Just saying. Invasive procedure records. So invasive procedures are, if you're doing microblading, you need specific records for microblading. If you do microblading, you have to find out if your public health department requires that the person doing the microblading has their bloodborne pathogens training. And if they do, that information should be kept on file as well. Incidents reports. Was there an accident? Did somebody get nicked? Was there somebody stubbed their toe when they were leaving after getting a pedicure? I mean, all little things like that. Every single thing should be written down. My best and favorite incident reports are eyelash extensions, because it seems to me it doesn't matter how much you tell people what they have to do to maintain their eyelash extensions. They always do what they want and then complain. The other thing is that if you're having any swelling or any reaction with eyelash extensions and your client doesn't want you to stop applying them, you should be writing that information down. That's an incident, because if you say, look, I think you have an allergy or a sensitivity to this product, we need to stop and take them off. And they go, no, you have to continue. You have to continue. Write it down, because then if something happens, you don't want her to come back and sue you or him. Accidental exposure records are critical for being exposed to blood, bodily fluids, etc. Additional autoclave monitoring forms. Failure incidents. Did you know you have to make note of every failure your autoclave has? And when that autoclave fails, you have a lot of documentation to do. You have to have an alternative to use. You have to re-sterilize all your implements and tools. And you have to contact public health and tell them. It's absolutely critical that you do that. Check your guidelines, but if you don't do it, that's a big problem. So we created an accidental exposure to blood or bodily fluids reporting form for you. It's attached with the email that you're going to be receiving at the end. And if you have questions that I can't answer or Chrissie can't answer, please always contact your local health authority. That's who you need to get in touch with, your health authority, because they'll have most of the answers for personal service establishments. If you notice in here, some are associations, but those are regulatory associations in the province. Some associations are not regulatory, so they can't really, they might be able to help you, but they really don't have the pull to do that. So we've done our best to ensure all information in this presentation is accurate. Please follow your provincial and local guidelines and be aware of municipal bylaws and licensing requirements that may be applicable in your area. Did you know that we are having a great big contest for Preempt? There's a couple of places you should visit. One is called preempt.salon, We did a whole bunch of commercial shoots with some barbers in Brampton, Ontario. It was so much fun. Chrissie was there. She's part of the commercials. Take a look and see. They're really, really fun. There's Russell Bailey. There's Rob Rutledge. There's Alex. I'm sorry, Alex, I forget your last name. Gino. Everybody had a great time. It was lots of fun. And, Preempt's such a great product that it was a fun time doing the whole thing. But now we're having a big industry sweepstakes. There's over 8,000 prizes. To enter, just go to backonceagain.ca. Enter. You can win multiple times, and you can have multiple entries by doing certain things that they tell you to do on the website. This contest closes December 31st, by the way. So, there's shears and dryers and a trip for Vegas, and there's some really exciting things on there. So if you need to contact me at infectioncontrol@cbongroup.com. That is the same email address that we have that's connected to our infectioncontroleducation.com. And if you're taking Thinkific courses from us, thank you very much. I'm sure you've learned an awful lot of information that you probably forgot when you were in school. Our website is CBON Group. Please follow us at CBON Infection Control. My name is Catherine Campbell. Thrilled to meet you.
Kat?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Before we end, can you please go back to the contest so that Lynn can see where she had to go?
I sure can. I'm sorry, Lynn. There you go.
So the web, it doesn't have, yeah, there you go. Backonceagain.ca.
Backonceagain.ca. Yeah, you can enter. There's a few ways to enter. You can physically enter. There's going to be posters out where you can snap a QR code, or there's a phone number that you can text. So if you text them, somebody will send a text back to you saying, okay, we got your text. What's your email address? And you send the address and you're entered. But there's lots of fun stuff on there. And it's fun for us as beauty industry professionals to actually have something really, especially when you work in infection control, something fun to do, right? So it's lots of fun.
I'm just trying to see if anybody else needed.
Everybody okay?
Did I answer everybody?
If you're not already registered for infectioncontroleducation.com, please go do that, because we've had over 7,000 hits so far, and all the associations in the Maritimes that are regulated associations have referred us. So it's our site is the preferred site for infection control education. It's 100% free, and it's not easy, but once you do it, you'll think, wow, I know what I'm doing now. Okay, everybody, I just want to thank you very much for joining us. Next 2 weeks from now, we're going to be having a question and answer period. If you have any questions in regards to what we did today, anything about Preempt, anything about infection control, we will do our best to answer all your questions. Have a great day.
Sorry, Kat, one more thing before you go. We still have a minute. Yeah, just to let them know that you will be getting a thank you email. Kat has set it up. Yep. That you will get some of these logs that she mentioned in the thank you email. And then if you have any further questions after you rewatch the recording, Kat has that email at infection control infection control at cbongroup.com.
Infection control at cbongroup.com.
That you can, if there's any file that you've wanted that we didn't send it to you in the link, but the SDS sheets, I did send it to people in a email as Kat was doing the presentation. It's just the logs. You have to wait until we end this, and then a thank you email would come.
Yes, it will.
Because it was all that questions were there, so I wanted to make sure that they.
No, that's great. Thank you for doing that, Chrissie.
There's still some more questions. So before we end, sorry, Kat, because this is a good way to answer people's questions. What's the contest link again? Jita would like to see the contest link again. It's back at it again.
Back. Now, the reason it's back once again, the reason it is that is because when we did our Preempt commercials, one of the wraps that's attached to the commercial is back once again. So people have had such a difficult time with COVID. This is actually a stick it to COVID contest that we're doing. If you can see right up at the top where it says in sweepstakes in purple, we're actually sticking it to COVID because it's caused such havoc in our industry, and people don't realize how difficult it has been for our industry, and it affects everybody. It affected our mental health. It affected our clients. It affected, business, distributors, master distributors, manufacturers like Virox. It affected so many people. And we just want to make sure that there's some fun for a while until we can find out what our new normal is going to be.
Perfect. I think I got everybody's questions.
Yay.
Was there access to the forms? Aaron, the forms, once again, when we end this, Kat has to hit end webinar, and then you get a thank you email, and there will be links. Okay. And once again, if there's anything that you feel that you didn't get, you're going to get a recording as well. So you'll able to see these files and the information once again at your leisure. Okay. So hopefully I answered everybody's. Kat.
Okay, everybody. Thank you, Chrissie, for answering all the questions. I'm contacting you from the backwoods of British Columbia. We had snow yesterday. Yes, we did. So I hope everybody's warm, because I'm not. And I'm going to go make myself a nice hot cup of coffee. I look forward to chatting next webinar on the 28th. Same time, same place. Be there, be square. Ciao.
Bye, everyone.